So today we're going to learn the Zohar, Parshat Tisah. The Zohar starts like this: "As Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Chia, Chava Azli Ba'archo." Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Chia were going along their way. The Hava Azlim Ramash Lilo. So as they were going along and they were talking, and what we need by we said that they're going on their way, we already know that the word derech has many different methods, different words, and archo could be translated as derech. But they're basically engaged in Torah. They're walking through, as they're flying through the outer space of reality. And night came. Night's a time of dinim, so they didn't want to be on the path and exposed. Yosfu, they went to a safe place. The Havach of Yosvim, so they were learning Torah all night long. And as they were sitting there, Shriya Samprach Anhara. So then began the morning to shine. Now everybody knows in Eretz Yisrael it's very mountainous. So you start to see the sun depending on where you're at and where you're looking. You may see it very early if you're before it actually comes up. Does anybody remember the concept of the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? Well, this is actually the origin of that idea. He's going to tell you the origin of the idea. There's a secret in it that we want to discuss just a little bit. Amru kum nahach. So they said, so let's get up. Let's start moving. So he said, "Come of Oslo." So they got up and they started walking. Amar Rebbe Chia, Chamu anpoy the mizrach of the kon menaharim. So what they see is actually before the sun came up, they see the beginning rays of the eastern sky start to glow. So he said, so he says, now you'll see that all the people in the east, he's talking about the Gentiles, Goyim. He says that they're now get on top of their mountains and they start to see the sun. They want to see the brilliance of the sun before that. They're on the mountains, they get up on the mountains, they want to look down on it. They bow down and they worship this light. The Nahir Ba'asa the Shemsa, but this is coming up in the place where the sun is going to come up. But it's before it comes up. It's the beginning light of the sun. They pray to it. The Ha'keva the Nafik Shemsha, because once the sun comes up, Kama'in the Palchin the Shemsha, then there's a lot of people that also worship the sun. Ve'ilan Ilan the call Palchin the Haradah, but there are also those that just pray to this beginning light. Before you see the sun, it's the beginning light. They call the beginning light, they call it the God of the pearl that shines, the shining pearl, the pearl that shines. And they swear, they take oaths to this light that comes up. So he said, so maybe it says this is Ganai. In other words, it's something disgusting that what they're doing there. But actually it's actually something that they're doing that they had taken from Avodah Zarah from ancient days. They know that there's some chachma in this. And the moment that the sun starts to shine before it actually comes out, that there is an angel, we have to talk about this a little bit, that is appointed over the sun. And this angel has the names of has the letters of a holy name that are printed on his head. And there's a power in these letters. So that spreads out, this power spreads out in all the different parts and corners of the heavens and strikes it, and then it goes away. The Nahir Sacharane the Shimsha. So then at that moment, that angel that goes up or that enters into that radiance, the Nahir Sacharane the Shimsha that goes around the Shimsha, the sun, and there is where it can be found, that it is there and it can be found until the sun actually comes up, with Pashet Ba'alma, and spreads over the world. Now, the Matik B'Devash explains what he's talking about. Now, I said in other lectures, if you've been zeicha to be able to hear them, that there are two different ways that the Uri has given us to try to understand reality that's beyond this physical world. So most people who study Torah, you're talking about 98% or 99%, I don't know, the people that study Torah, we call them Pashtanim. So they work with the Torah, they learn the Gemara, they learn the Dinim, it's very important, all these things are really, but they learn the level of Torah, which is called Pshat. Simple meaning. They try to understand the simple meaning. They don't learn the Zohar at all. They're not familiar with the Uri, and that's not the thing we call them Pashtanim. So then, opposite to that, then we have this small group of people, which is called Mekubalim. So the Mekubalim will tell you that outside of the simple Pshat, there's deeper things. Of course, there's secrets. So the question is that, as I said before, there are two different ways that the Uri said that we can understand the spiritual world. One is by looking at our own bodies. And we talked about this a lot. As we look at it, the spiritual world is not physical. So there's no way possible for us to really be able to understand it because we are 100% physical, except that we have a neshama inside of us. By catching on to that neshama, that we could start getting a sense, but we could use our body as a reference to get a sense. That's one way. We've only talked about one way. But now there's another way. This one is more ethereal. It's more difficult. And this is the world of letters. Letters. It's one of the most amazing things in the world that there are combinations of the name of God's names. They go different kinds of ways. One of the things that we've mentioned in other shiurim, and we talked about this, and we introduced this idea, you see it over and over and over again, is the concept of the wedding of male and female forces. So to be able to do that, the female has a power which is called Mayim Nukvin or Man. The man, the power of the woman, is a reversed light, a light that comes from the below and goes upwards. We could talk about this a lot. It's a lot of different ideas. And the male light is a word that's called Or Yashar, comes straight down, comes down. So you have a light coming up, a light that's coming down. These two can mate, they can meet, and they can mate. Then you have the possibility of creation of tremendous goodness. So we talked about that. There's so much detail in it and so much love and warmth in it. It's impossible to say it in a sheer. So we look at what is the power that brings things up, that elevates things. Because here we are in the malchus of the malchus of the malchus, or whatever it is, like Yaakov Hillel calls it, the zahama of the nachash. It's in a very, very low place, and that's the place where your prayers need to start, and it needs to have a certain power to come up. Now, that's what he's talking about here. He's talking about that when the sun starts to shine, but when we see the light, this is the koach of something which is an aliyah, of a rise, of making the sun come up. He says that this is a reference to a malach, but a malach is not like, saying like a person who's invisible. A malach is like a series of letters. And these letters actually, especially if you listen to Rabbi Memram, if you're zocheh to be able to listen to them, he says that they're more like something beyond they're here, around us all the time. You have malachim around you all the time. So we don't know, we live in a world where people don't pay attention to it. So if you don't pay attention to it, they don't pay attention to you, but they're there anyway. So there is a malach here. And this malach has letters written on him. And these letters are the holy name, which is called Mab. Mab is a gematria, comes out to be the number 42. The name of 42. Now I remember reading in the trying to think of my mind blocks on names sometimes. But at any rate, the Sipuri Maisios that was written by, what's his name? Aryeh Kaplan, came to me. Aryeh Kaplan, there's a story about the prince that was made out of gems. Very interesting story. I was hoping to be able to get to that story. And he mentions over there that this has the secret of the name of 42, which we call Mab. Mab is Mem is 40, and the base is 2, that's 42, the name of 42. Mab is the koach of the elevator. It's not the only koach of the elevator, but it is the main koach of elevating things. So what you see that when he says something like this is that the light that you see there actually has something that pushes it and pushes the light upwards. It's a metaphor for something beyond this world. And this is the name of Mab. Now, how do you get to 42? Well, there's several different ways. I mean, there's a lot of different ways. You can take the name Ekia. That's Aleph K Yud K, which is said of Moshe by the burning book, was he said Hashem said to him that his name was Ekesha Ekia, which simple, and the Pashtanim translate this as I will be what I will be, which is a little bit hard to understand what that means. But I will be what I will be is actually numbers. It turns out to be the numbers 21. One Ekia, if you talk the Aleph is 1. The K is 5, that's 6. The Yud is 10, that's 16. Another 5 makes 21. That's a K at the end, Ekia. Take 2 of them, and you make the number 42. So there's lots of different combinations. Let's take the word hand. This is the name Yad, right? So Yad is a gematria of, if you just add it up, it's Yud, 10, and Dalet is 4, that's 14. Take 3 of them, and you get to the number 42 again. There's also something that everybody has heard of, everybody's seen, is the prayer, which we call Ana B'Koach. Ana B'Koach is another 42, because you have 7 6-letter names there. 7 times 6 is 42. It's not the only ones, but the fact is that the Mekubalim say, the Kabbalah yeshivas say, that Ein Aliyah Ba'osios Ala B'Mab. If you want to lift something up, that you have to have this name Mab. And creating it or moving it and so on and so forth is a tremendous power. Again, we're dealing with physical things. You're not talking about a good steak. You're not talking about some kind of wonderful sensation you have. Although coming close to Hashem is always a wonderful sensation. But here you're talking about lifting something up. The power of lifting something up is the name Mab. And that's what he says. He says like this. He says, so when it says Kedisha, that there are Asvun Kedisha, letters, holy letters, the Shema Kedisha, the Shema Eloah Kedisha, Rishim and Al Reshe, which are formed on top of his head, he says, Osios Kedushos, there are holy letters, Shal Shem Ha'elyon HaKodesh Hu Hashem Mab. Now, I just explained some aspects of the name Mab, because we have to understand that the power, the koach of the universe, usually rides and rests in letters. And so the combination of these letters represent different kochos, different things we could do. These goyim knew about these kochos. They knew that was something there. They don't really realize what it is, because what we see in the astrology, what Yaakov Cronenberg calls Western astrology, because there's Eastern astrology, there's also Indian astrology, so on and so there's astrology every place. But the Western astrology just doesn't ascribe anything to the origins of these things. In other words, they see them, they have the tradition that they're there. There's something here when the sun comes up. So they worship when the sun comes up. But do they understand what Mab means? Mab is trying to make a connection between the man, which is it's Mayim Nukfin, which means female waters. Female waters is the desire to create, the need to create, but without having the tools, and it's reaching and trying to reach it. And it has a corresponding koach, which is called mad, mayim duchrin, male waters. This water wants to give. All it wants to do is mate with that female. It's always ready. It's always ready. That's the idea of the man. They're always ready. But the mayim nukvin takes more time. So between them, in order to get her to move up, you have to have this koach of this mob. And that's what the goyim there are worshiping. Let me see if there's something else. If there's a little bit more. Oh yeah. To tie this back up and to make the whole thing work out. Remember, originally I said, the people that said there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So now these people, they understand that this mob, how there's something about it. Again, that it realizes that the Kodesh Baruch Hu is the center of the universe. They're not interested in that. They're only interested in this world. What can I get out of this world? That's why they pray to this early light. So he says, "V'hahu mamana ihu pekida al dahava al margolin sumkam." So he says that this mamona, that is this name of 42, he says it is appointed over gold and what he calls the red pearls. I don't know what that means. So he said, so they have an image that goes over there, that goes with this, and they pray to that image of a nikudim, of a simonim, and there's different dots and points along the way. This is all of Avodah Zarah, how they do their little thing. The simonim, the yartun, midkudemoim, biyom, and the tikkun, these are all things that they were inherited by their priests. I wonder what the priests are doing, what they're doing in their spare time. They're learning all of these different things that they were passed down from Ovdei Avodah Zarah, who have little shtiklach and little bits and pieces of kedusha that they have managed to suck off, but they don't understand how the world is really working. They want it only for selfishness. What do they want? They want gold. They want gold and red pearls, whatever red pearls are. There's somebody out there who's a jeweler could tell me. These are things that they got from ancient days. So there they're going out, and the different points of the light that's coming off of the sun, they study them. The mishkach yasrim the dahava margolin, so that they can find a place where the gold is. It's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. This is the pot of gold that if you could understand the light that comes before the sun, then you'll understand, maybe you could find gold. Well, people do find gold. It's just, that they do. So Rabbi Yossi. So Rabbi Yossi says like this. Ad kama yehon polchanim sigiyim eleva alma. How long could this nonsense go on? That people don't recognize the cause of the universe, that what's making our world exist. They don't want to know about that. All they want to know about, where's the money? I want the money because money will do what I want. The Hashikla list like kaimen lakaimo, because he says, look, it's a lie. You can't have a world continue on as everybody thinks that the only thing that really matters is something like money or sex, some physical power where I can get what I need out of the world. How long can the world go on like that? So the next piece of the Zohar is going to go into, be interesting also. So we're out of time for today. The next piece of the Zohar is going to try to explain how it is that they didn't disappear. Sheker really doesn't have any strong legs. Sheker is something that only exists for a moment. It's the truth of a Kodesh Baruch Hu is emes, Hashem Keil emes. So that's the only thing that matters. But look at us. We're in Galus. With those of us who believe this. So I'm going to go into that a little bit. And that's the way that the Zohar is going to go in that direction. So I hope I've filled in some blanks over here to give you an idea about something that's beyond. We don't really know how to use. We haven't talked about how to use the name of 42 or where it gets used or anything like that. It's not so simple. So at any rate, God bless you all. And the main thing, I hope you enjoyed this year, because the main thing is to enjoy. All the best.